Presenting the best of 2018, this is Local 5 News with Tom Zaleski and Aaron Davison.
Good evening, and thank you for joining us for Local 5's Best of 2018 Year in Review Special.
2018 had plenty of stories, and so we'd like to share with you some of the biggest news as well as a few of our favorite stories. We begin with this year by following the trial of George Birch, who was arrested for murdering 31-year-old Nicole Vanderheiden. Her body was discovered in a Bellevue field in May of 2016. Birch quickly became a person of interest in this case. He was convicted of first-degree intentional homicide in May and is serving life in prison with no chance of parole. Next, a story we followed throughout the year, the future of the Kimberly-Clark Cold Spring plant in Fox Crossing. Back in January, Kimberly-Clark announced the closure of the plant as part of a restructuring program. Legislation was quickly drafted, providing the company with tax incentives if they kept the plant open. It was passed by the state assembly, but stalled in the Senate, where the bill eventually died. But just a few weeks ago, Kimberly-Clark reached an agreement with the Wisconsin Economic Development Corporation to keep the plant open. It's a 5-year deal and grants the company $28 million in tax incentives.
It means these family-supporting jobs will stay in Wisconsin and will directly impact the statewide vendors that provide us the various supplies and materials and services, as well as the local economies of those communities.
In order to receive the tax incentive money, KC will also have to keep all 388 employees at the Fox Crossing facility. Wisconsin saw an historic election night with the midterms this past November, and the closest race by far, the race between incumbent Governor Scott Walker and Governor-elect Tony Evers. The polls showed Evers and Walker neck and neck heading into Election Day, and as the numbers came in, neither party held a commanding lead throughout the night. That is, until Milwaukee County's absentee ballots were counted, giving Evers a final surge. The day after the election, Evers said he was excited to begin work with the legislature.
I'm eager to begin work with them in the near future on helping find ways to solve the problems that are facing the state of Wisconsin and finding long-term solutions, bipartisan solutions to the things that people care about, like roads, and make sure we have a good public education system and health care.
And Governor Scott Walker released a statement after calling Governor-elect Tony Evers to concede the election. He said, "We've come a long way together, and it is my sincere hope that the progress we've made during our time in office will continue and that we can keep Wisconsin working for generations to come." In the face of changing leadership, the state legislature held an extraordinary session.
And during that session, multiple measures were passed which will reduce the power of Wisconsin's governor and attorney general. One of the measures limits the governor's scope of executive power to enact laws. Another strips the attorney general of the authority to withdraw the state from federal lawsuits, including the multi-state lawsuit against the Affordable Care Act. And one measure restricts early voting in the state to no earlier than 2 weeks. Governor Walker signed the bills earlier this month.
Meanwhile, a large part of the year was spent discussing the trade war with China, and a number of industries in Wisconsin were affected by the tariffs imposed, including agriculture.
Back in August, the USDA announced a farm trade relief package, and farmers seemed to agree that while the effort was appreciated, it was only a temporary solution. And when a second wave of funds was announced, their reaction was largely the same.
In reviewing the impact of our trade war with China, a major focus has been on soybean and hog farmers. But that doesn't mean it hasn't hurt other segments, including dairy.
And it's making it difficult, and it's really hurting our processors here in the state of Wisconsin. We've had several outspoken processors, and rightly so. Obviously, a huge market with all the people there, the middle income, all those different things that have been said over time. And it's be interesting to see how long that will last.
Now, our state's largest general farm organization, the Farm Bureau, was recently a participant in a tariff impact forum. Their message?
It's more a sense of awareness, I think, rather than a solution we come to. trying to let Congress know and the administration know how much that is impacting not only agriculture, but many different industries within the state.
As for round 2 of the mitigation payments, Holt doesn't see them as the answer.
It's only a Band-Aid, and from the very beginning, our mantra has been trade, not aid. And so while the aid is necessary and can be a part of a solution, coming back to a full set of trade agreements is where our goal is at.
And Lyon points to recent studies that show from a dairy farmer's perspective, these payments fall woefully short.
And they're looking at probably over $1 billion, so over $1 billion to some estimates at $1.8 billion when it comes in at 12 cents a hundredweight, but only on half your production, looking at 6 cents, about 127 million compared to over $1 billion negative for dairy farmers. That just doesn't sit very well.
Reporting from Madison, Mike Austin, Local 5 News.
And we thank you, Michael. Back in July, the community of Sun Prairie was rocked. This was after a gas leak led to a devastating explosion.
The blast destroyed businesses and homes and claimed the life of volunteer firefighter Captain Corey Barr. Firefighters from across the state, including our area, came together to mourn at Captain Barr's funeral. Captain Barr left behind a wife and twin 3-year-old girls. Days after the explosion, Barr's wife Abby remembered her husband as a great man.
He cared for the fire department so much. And, you know, I always admired him and looked up to him because I feel like it takes a special person to be on a fire department and be running in towards something that everyone else is running away from.
Authorities have announced that they are not seeking criminal charges in this case. Earlier this month, Abby Barr filed a wrongful death lawsuit against 4 different companies. Those companies were involved in the construction project that led to the explosion. 2 Sun Prairie firefighters have joined the suit because of the injuries they sustained in the explosion. And finally, this fall, we brought you the tragic story of 13-year-old Jamie Kloss. She went missing from her Barron County home on October 15th.
Her parents were both found dead in the home that same day. In the days following her disappearance, thousands of volunteers joined together to search for her near her home. Unfortunately, that search came up empty. The police have tracked down several leads, but their disappearance remains a mystery. To honor Jamie and to serve as a reminder that she's still out there, the Barron County Sheriff's Office put up a Christmas tree in their lobby, and it is decorated with her name and her picture. Well, 2018 definitely was not a year of mild weather.
And that may be an understatement. We'll look back at this year's crazy storms coming up next.